let's jump right into what happened tonight down in Florida. It is a big opportunity for UCF, welcoming in the Michigan Wolverines, and an opportunity tonight for Michigan to start to show that, yes, this season is going to turn, that they're going to flip that script from the early season woes. And a Michigan team that entered the evening at 7-4 looked like they would be 8-4 heading into the new year. Instead, they are 7-5. They lose a double-digit lead to UCF. The Wolverines unravel. You credit the Knights, who came back and won this game, but they win this game 85-71. Unheard of when you think about what was going on with 16 minutes on the clock in regulation. Greg, what went wrong for the Wolverines tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you said it in one word, summarized it perfectly. They unraveled. I mean, you expect in a college basketball game, especially when you're on the road, that the other team is going to throw a punch. And it was a weird first half. Michigan took a 4-point lead into halftime. It was a little choppy. Michigan came out, had a great first 4 minutes to the second half, built a 12-point lead. And to UCF's credit, they didn't quit. They hit a couple big shots. The energy in the building went from here to here. And all of a sudden, Michigan just stopped. And I mean, it was veteran guys. It was Eli Brooks and Devontae Jones just giving the ball away, giving up open shots to the guards, just looking very confused. I mean, it's hard for me to pinpoint because so many different things look wrong with this team right now. But for a program that flaunts #4 competitors only, there's been a lot of laying down and dying this season. And it makes me think, honestly, you know how, like, in college, maybe think back to your college years, guys. You have that friend in your friend group that you always want with you just in case something goes weird, just in case you're at a bar and something happens. I'm looking up and down this Michigan roster, and I just don't think they have that guy on the team. I don't know that they have any guy on that team. Like, when things go wrong, there's not a ton of guys I can point to that I'd say, I want him on my side. And I'm struggling to figure out who's the spark plug for this. You would think it's Hunter Dickinson, but man, Hunter Dickinson has really shied away from those tough moments this season. And it leaves them in a spot where conference plays here. They have 0 Q1 wins, and I don't know where they turn.
Yeah, and the thing for me is, like, in the game of basketball, like, you know, it happens when you miss shots. Like, that's something that's excusable. Like, sometimes your shots just aren't falling. But for me, watching that second half of that Michigan game, it was so many mental mistakes. Like, you do all these things preparing for games where you look in the scouting reports, you look at what teams do. And even during one point in that game, I literally saw the whole Michigan team identify the shooter on UCF, point at him during that possession, and then proceed to let him catch the ball, and no one closes out on him. I know it's frustrating for Juwan, because it's frustrating for me just to watch it. And I'm not even a Michigan basketball fan. Just as a fan of the game of basketball, you know, things happen where you don't make shots and it's not your night. But the one thing that you can control is the mental part of the game. And the fact of the matter is, you're not closing out on shooters. You're having defensive breakdowns. And you're at a point of the season where this Michigan team hasn't been able to show their talent enough where they can overcome mistakes like that mentally. And they don't have a person, like Greg said, they could lean on when they unravel like that. So, you know, they weren't able to take that punch from UCF and bounce back. Unfortunately, they laid down and just let it happen. And credit to UCF for taking advantage and getting the win tonight.
Yeah, and credit to Darren Green Jr., Brandon Mahan, who really spearheaded this performance. They combined for 12 threes in this game. And you look at UCF, that's what had to happen for this game to turn. But it is Michigan's biggest flaw this season on the defensive side of the basketball. Their perimeter defense has really struggled. Sometimes we get into the weeds of the game and we say, well, UCF had a night. But you know what? In order to have a night, you have to have openings to do so. Michigan's perimeter defense struggled early in the season. Even when they were supposed to let UNLV off the hook easily. I watched that whole game from start to finish after midnight on the East Coast. And Michigan won the game. They ended up covering the spread late. It's a bad beat, by the way. But they didn't let UNLV off the hook. They didn't. Tonight, they got in trouble because they got complacent. They got complacent with what looked like a controlling double-digit lead. You could have ballooned that tonight. You're thinking maybe they win by 15 points. That's the way that the game looked. My biggest thing is some of the things we've been harping on with this Michigan team, meaning Eli Brooks and Devontae Jones and them being in sync and then being able to coexist in the backcourt, that occurred tonight. Mm-hmm. Michigan does not possess depth. So if something's going wrong with one of their core 3 or 4 guys, they don't have someone to come off the bench and really provide a spark. Their youth, it has served. We thought that one of the best recruiting classes in Michigan Wolverines history, that they would be able to come into this program and that Juwan Howard would do what he's done thus far with this program. Did we take a premature victory lap with Juwan Howard? Here's my thing. He's done a terrific job these first couple years. That's in the past. But this sport isn't so easy that you just come in and you dominate year in, year out. And I think that this has been the tough cookie for Coach Howard. The fact is he has a young group, but a group that at the same time has an All-American caliber talent on it. Hunter Dickinson needs to have a flame lit under him. He needs to have a come-to-Jesus moment. Hunter Dickinson, the 3 of us, even the guy that's wearing the green on there, knows damn well that you are a superb talent. Michigan's got to find a way to get the most out of that. You have to. You have to find a way. Tonight, when the going gets tough, he's got to be fed the basketball.
Yeah.
He's got to be the guy making plays for this basketball team. And it's just not happening enough. Michigan feels like a team that you're exactly right. They don't possess a security blanket. And when you're on the road and a team gets hot from 3 and you can't compensate for that on the other side, you're in a lot of trouble. And that's why the Wolverines are who they are. One of the more disappointing teams in college basketball to date.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say they're the most disappointing team today at this point. And as far as Juwan Howard goes, look, I watch a ton of Michigan basketball. I consider myself a Michigan basketball fan. I'm not afraid to look in the camera and say blatantly, I think Juwan Howard arguably has done the worst job of any coach this season. Now, that's a major difference to say that and then to say Juwan Howard's a bad coach. Juwan Howard's a great coach, in my opinion. Right. But this is why, with the performance of this team today and with how confused they seem to be on what the answers are going forward, it's okay to say he's had such a bad year because Juwan Howard is capable of winning Big Ten championships. He's capable of running great stuff. He's capable of getting a team to buy in defensively. We've seen it as soon as last season. And it's just hard for me to see the results from this team with how talented they are, because I believe this team's a top 10 talented roster in the country. Now, we got to talk about Caleb Houston at some point, because if you're going to say they're as talented as I think Michigan is, he's a really big part of that. And tonight, Houston was 0 for 7 from the floor for 1 point with 4 rebounds and 3 turnovers. So again, this goes back to them not really having an alpha. I don't know what their identity is. Their rotations have been a mess all season. It seems like they're playing 3 power forwards at once at all time. There's not enough shooting on the floor. But all of these things, to me, I don't know if they're fixable this season, but I damn sure know they have the talent to be a lock NCAA tournament team. And right now, their results don't have them there.
Right. They have the talent. And usually with a team like this, like, you expect there to be some growing pains. But when we are going into the new year right now. Like, you're supposed to use these non-conference games to fix these issues. And to go back to the point that Fana made, when you're struggling, when nothing's going right, and all college basketball teams have that night when nothing's going right, shots aren't falling, and you're just looking to somebody. And Hunter Dickinson has to be that guy, whether he wants to be or not, because one, he has the talent to do so. We saw that last year. He is an All-American caliber player. He can do it on a night in, night out basis. It is not outrageous to say we should expect 19, 10 at minimum from Hunter Dickinson every night. He has that ability. He would tell you himself he has that ability. So in a game like this where everything's going wrong, it seems to me like the ideal situation would be just throw it into your All-American and let's live and die by that. He'll make the right play or he'll go score. There's not a lot of people that can stop him in college basketball. And like you said, Greg, like Juwan is a good coach. He showed that, 1 year does not make or break a coach. Tom Izzo had an awful year last year, and no one will say that Tom Izzo is a bad basketball coach. People have off nights in basketball. Coaches have off nights in basketball too. It happens. He has the ability. He has the talent. I'm a betting man, so I'm going to still head over to Bet Rivers, and I'm going to still place a bet that Michigan can make a run in the tournament because they have the talent. And I think Juwan is a great coach. I still believe in him. So I think they can turn that corner. But, we can keep saying that on every single episode that Michigan's going to turn the corner, but eventually they actually have to do it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Are you going to turn the corner in Big Ten play? You might just make it by the thread. There are no off days in this league. There are no off days in this league. You're betting your money on them to make a run in the tournament. Just hand it to me and I'll use it for the state dinner on New Year's Eve.
Well, listen, we talk about, turn it around, right? They're 7-5. Conference play is coming next week. Their next 4, let alone conference play, their next 4, they go at Rutgers. They're home against Michigan State. They're home against Purdue, and they're at Illinois. What's the over-under on wins for that team in those 4 games? Over? Yeah, 1.5. I'll take the under on that. They're not in the same stratosphere as 3 of those teams right now with the quality of play.
They're not. And look, you guys say they do about the talent. Raw talent in college basketball doesn't win in 2021-22. Now, especially in a season where there's 5th and 6th year players. Mm-hmm. And in the Big Ten, you've got Brad Davison's been around for a decade. And I just think that Michigan is in a state, though, where can they turn it around? Can they turn around? I think the answer to that question is, yeah, in terms of being able to compete in the Big Ten, finding a way. If you go around 500 in your league, you're going to get respect. If you can beat the right teams, maybe you're getting consideration. That's where you benefit from playing in the Big Ten Conference. But big picture, like you think about the youth of this group, Moussa Diabate, I think he's a super freak athletically. I love I love watching him play. Caleb Houston had a bad night tonight. From game to game, don't know what you're going to get. That's the thing with Michigan. With Michigan right now, game to game, you do not know what you're going to get from this group. And that's why we're all saying the constant has to be Hunter Dickinson. And I know we've said his name a number of times, but Hunter, we're saying your name because we know that you've got it. You possess it. That will, especially in the Big Ten, you got to be willing sometimes to say, I'm taking my team, I'm planting them on my back, and I'm going to make things happen for this group. I think the backcourt has something. Like there are moments where I see Eli Brooks and Devontae Jones, and I think that they could coexist. I think that they can make things happen. It's a team, though, that for sure, at the 3 and the 4 spots, the guys that they brought in that people thought interchangeability, tons of athleticism, they're going to make things happen. They'll play off of Dickinson. When Michigan marches up the floor, you just don't feel like you know what you're going to get from this group right now. They lack an identity. They lack an alpha, and they should have one.
Well, and Fana, I'll let you in on a little secret from Sleepers Media ourselves. We record our weekly episodes, right? We're doing a lot of different various forms of content, interviews, podcasts, etc. It's pretty frequent, I would say, probably once a week or so that either Carter or I will call each other after an episode and literally say like, my bad, man. I don't feel like I had it tonight. I was off my A game tonight. And I'm waiting for that moment with this Michigan team because there's been press conferences from Eli Brooks and from Hunter Dickinson where they're pointing some fingers and they're saying freshmen got to realize this isn't high school anymore. Guys got to realize they're not in their old programs. They're at Michigan now.
Yeah.
What I really think this team needs is a dose of just a finger in the mirror from some of their best guys. Like I need Hunter Dickinson to step up and realize I'm not being the best version of Hunter Dickinson right now. I need Caleb Houston to do that. But if this team's searching for answers, I can tell you one thing, it's not going to come from some of the fringe rotation guys. It's not going to come with Brandon Johns all of a sudden having things click in his 4th year. It's got to come from the guys who are already being given major minute opportunities on this team, just playing better. And at some point we can criticize Juwan, or we can't. We can call him a great coach and say he's not doing it. Like, at some point, the guys who are on the floor for 25 to 30 minutes a game just have to play how they're capable of. And who knows if they'll get there. If they don't, it's going to be a real long season. But that's what I'm looking for. From the Michigan fan in me, I'm waiting for our best guys to step up and just be the best version of themselves. And I think a lot will get figured out.
And from the Michigan State fan in me, this is making me extremely happy to see. I'm just letting you know.